Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Resident Alien. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we had the whole situation with Asta being in a much better mood. Obviously, it helps not remembering everything, which I love. What was it that Harry said when he walked out? He was like, Max, that better not be you and your wife. And it's like, oh, it's Asta, and she's smiling and happy, and he hasn't really seen her like that in a while. At least never knew she was like, oh, I never knew you had teeth, because she never has had too much reason to smile very bigly. You know, it's just like, it's been one thing after another, from Sam's murder to, you know, finding out about Harry being an alien, and obviously everything with Jay. Like, it's a culmination of so many things. She hasn't had Jay made her smile, but like, he hasn't seen her like genuinely happy like that in such a long time. If at all. And so he was like, oh, I didn't even realize you had teeth, because you've never really smiled like that. And so he feels good because he's happy. He's like, oh, I like a happy Asta, and not the sad, blubbering, snotty Asta that I had to deal with last episode. But also, it's like, yeah, the baby, yep, still in the egg. Everything's cool. Everything's copacetic on that front. Was there anything else I need to know? Are you talking about the evil aliens that are actually here trying to kill all of us? Nope, not a single thing you need to know. So, and I was actually quite surprised that Asta found out even in this episode. But to be fair, Harry didn't handle things on the other front. I mean, to be fair, he was completely unaware of the Jay situation. But also, like, I mean, him and Darcy talked about, like, yeah, don't mention the whole, you know, and he did the quote thing, and she's like, he was like, the incident. She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, the murder. She's like, I know you're talking about the murder. And then she kind of talked about, like, are you in denial? He's like, no. She's like, wait, are you in denial about denial? He's like, no, I am denying the denial. And it's like, I even love that moment of Darcy being, you know, the friend that she is. It's like, I would do anything for Asta. Like, so if you put her in a dangerous situation, which Harry kind of has, then I will kill you myself. And she's like joking and stuff, but I think she is part serious. So I was curious if that would kind of motivate Harry to probably keep her even further out of things or not. But I mean, he also didn't want to trigger any memories for her, because luckily they were able to dance around it with the Darcy thing, because she was like, oh yeah, we talked about this yesterday. She's like, wait, we did? Kind of was able to kind of dance around that. So I thought Darcy would be the issue, but Darcy knew, she was like, right, I won't bring up the murder stuff, so like, didn't have to worry about that. Sadly, Asta ran into Jay, who was super upset. And the moment she was like, wait, you made a promise to go to my birthday party, I was waiting for you for 2 hours. It's like, wait, what? And then it's like, right, she knows about Harry's memory wipe. It's like, Harry, you wiped my memory, didn't you? And it's like, well, why'd you do that? It's like, you asked me to. It's like, she didn't actually ask you to do it. You kind of did that on your own volition. Yeah, she was hurting, and she was like, she didn't want to remember, but I don't think she ever I mean, I guess you could read between the lines, but she never expressed it was like, I want my memory wiped. He kind of did that because he was trying to help her. He legitimately didn't like seeing Asta, because she is a good friend to him that he didn't. She's the only human for a long time he really cared about. So for him, it's like he didn't want to see her in pain. But for her, it's like, pain is what we have to go through. Like, everyone wishes that they could erase the pain. And I thought it's actually really interesting and timely, because of it kind of plays into Lock and Key this with the final season, if you haven't seen it. Especially, you know, if you remember where Tyler's circumstances were at the end of season 2, that no matter what you do, you can't escape that pain, you know? Even if you try to forget, like, it's up to you to kind of feel that pain. I mean, this way she did forget her pain, but it is the thing of, it's part of human, it's just part of like human life that, yeah, not everything's going to be good, not everything's going to be great. Sometimes you have to deal with the good and the bad. That's just part of the human experience. Yet that pain, you have to feel it. You have to go through it, like, because that pain is hers to feel and go through. And once again, it's like, it's not like he had malicious intent, but it's still the thing of, when that time comes, we all wish we can erase our pain, but just it's not an easy reset button, because we need to feel it. We need to go through it. And because Harry also, along with that pain, ended up taking away a moment for her and Jay to get close. So they've taken steps forward, and now they've taken steps back. So, and she's trying to get Harry to confront what he's dealing with. The fact is that he's fearing death so much to the point that he didn't even want to see Gerard anymore, like as a patient, because it's like, oh yeah, Gerard wants you to stop. But it's like, I don't know, I don't want to be around him. It's like too much like death. Like, why don't you actually do it? To be fair, it's like Harry might not have any bedside manner. Ellen's bedside manner is also atrocious too. In a weird way, you could say Harry's better at human connection aspect to it than even Ellen is. I thought this was all around like a very beautiful episode, and just kind of like, I don't know how to properly phrase it. Like, just with what everyone's kind of dealing with this episode. Like, jumping ahead a little bit, the ending with like Asta writing that letter to Jay. She had no intention. I don't know if she plans to eventually give all those letters to Jay, or just, it's probably not even like, it's not meant for Jay to actually see, but it's her having this moment of just being able to say what she needed to say. And we've seen that she's done this over the years. That, because Jay almost felt like, oh, like, yeah, you didn't even show up. Like, I thought I would actually matter to you. It's like, you have mattered. You've always been on your mom's mind, no matter how much she's kind of like tried to bury it. Like, you've always been there. Like, she has all these different letters. She's written you on your birthday, celebrating like different points in your life. And I don't know if she ever plans on giving those to Jay or not. Those might have just been hers and hers alone, that she probably doesn't plan on sharing to Jay, or maybe she does. But I think it would be a nice thing to, you know, for Jay to know, like, right, you were always on Asta's mind regardless of everything. That, like, right, she can't explain why, but, like, she's like, you know, she could probably just be like, I'm sorry, I forgot. And, like, there was just a lot going on at the time, and I should have, you know. So there's that angle to it. Then there's the whole Darcy and her bow situation, which I thought was kind of really sweet. Him basically excavating, like, some artifacts that they were finding on like that dig site. They were kind of brought in to kind of preserve all of it. And for Darcy, it's like, right, you found something that you really kind of making a difference in the world. Because for him, it's like, for his people, it's like a lot of those stories, a lot of their history, that those stories that were part of their history kind of died with his grandmother's generation. And so it's like kind of bringing back a little piece of their history that has kind of been lost to time to some extent. And Darcy's impressed because it's like, wow, you are able to do something that actually means something. She's like, unlike me, like, I get people drunk and I drink, you know, like, you know, Darcy belittling herself. But it's like, what was that in line that he's like, you could do anything. She's like, yeah, ever since I like hurt my injury, like I kind of haven't felt that way. But he's saying that our history is a part of basically who we are, make us who we are. We're not who we are in spite of it. So it's like, don't look, at least how I took it was, don't look at your past as like what you were and that you'll never kind of be anything more than that. It's like, right, that was a part of you and it's a part of your journey to be who you're going to be next. And, you know, and I think that's what she needed to hear. Because everything Darcy does is kind of a little who she is, but also there's coping mechanisms in that, with just kind of like her life not going in the direction she thought it would. Everyone thought it would. And it's just like her moving like that, not even bulldozer, just moving that. And it's just like, he's like, oh, should you really be doing that? And she's just like, yeah. And then she kind of it's like this really cute moment between them I thought was kind of pretty nice. And then also, when they slept together, she was ready to kind of sneak out, but she didn't. She crawled back into bed and was like, once again, showing just how much this means. Like, Darcy's, you know, finally taking, I think, for first time in a while, she's, I think, taking steps in the right direction. And I think, for her, it's like, this isn't the one I do want this to be so much more, because I think that's also another thing, too, about this episode is kind of like not running away to some extent. And Darcy decided not to run away. She ended up sticking around and crawled back in bed. I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Then there's the Ben and Kate thing, which Ben, it's, you know, obviously he's dealing with the whole, like, please don't let this be a patient's murder. Let's make this a Jessup murder, trying to make any excuse he can to make it so, even when the evidence, it's literally saying, he's like, yeah, but what evidence, what can a dead body really tell us? And Liv has to be like, that's, the autopsy can tell you everything. And it's like, okay, sure, let's look for like a 3-fingered man, musician or something, or they can't be a musician, or kind of what he was saying with 3 fingers. Look for someone like that in Jessup. He just grasping at straws just to make it not a patient's murder. And he ends up talking to Mike about, he's like, right, we just have to make this not a, could you take a backseat? Which he's like, I've never taken a backseat in my life. When I order a cab, I sit shotgun or I drive the cab myself. I'm like, you have that personality. I could definitely see you be that type of person. Like, no, you're telling the cab driver that they suck and that you're going to be the one that's going to drive there yourself just because you know the way, or you're going to get there faster and cheaper. I don't know. Either way, Ben's just kind of avoiding the whole... It's all him overcompensating for the Kate situation, and Mike suggested he meet in a public place because it's like, yeah, that way she doesn't have to kill you, because you have to, what was it, he is like, you have to treat women like the mob or something like that. Like, you want to be in a public place where they can't kill you or something. He's like, you think she's going to kill me? He's like, I put it at 30%. He's like, do you have insurance? Because if you do, life insurance, then it's going to bump up to about 60. So, and when he talks to Kate, he talks about the fact is that he's afraid to talk to her. And she's seeing like, wait, you're afraid of me? He's like, well, no. And she's like, that's honestly the first honest thing you've told me in probably a very long time. And it is kind of sad, like that they've gotten to that point. Once again, I get that. I'm not the most forthcoming with how I feel, like, because I bury shit. I bury shit deep, 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 deep. I bottle a lot of stuff up. I'm not saying necessarily that that's what Ben does, but maybe that is. Like, we never really got into the ins and outs of what did happen to him. It's like, he's like, yeah, we used to be we used to talk on the phone for hours. And it's like, yeah, somewhere along the way, it's like, yeah, we have this beautiful family. We've been together for so long. We've been married for so long. Fact is, we have Max. We have another baby coming on the way. And Kate's like, maybe this is just who we are. And she gets a call on her phone. And I was like, oh, I wonder who is it? And then it's him. And I was like, what? I was like, honestly, I was like, that's actually super cute and sweet. And it's like, wow, we were talking on the phone for like 3 hours. I felt like 5 minutes, So, what's the weather like where you are? And it's just like, I like that for them. I was like, that's super cute. Because I also like that Kate and Darcy also repaired their relationship. Because it's like, yeah, I shouldn't have said what I said. It's like, no, you were right to say what you said. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about other stuff. It's like, in this town of Patience, like, they have a like very special type of friendship. That for Kate, it's like, I don't have like that many friends. Like, I mean, because obviously she interacts with like, obviously everyone from like the girls' night episode, what was it, episode 3? Like, yeah, like, but I think Darcy's like the only like person she like these. I think those are people she's friendly with, but I think Darcy's the first person she really like, really connected with, because she doesn't have that many friends, and so that she really enjoyed them hanging out together, and Darcy really liked it too. So, because I think both of them probably had very different misconceptions about each other, and now that they're gonna get to spend time together, it's like, oh wow, you're actually pretty cool. So not only is Ben and Kate working on stuff, so did Kate and Darcy. I also love the fact is that there's a whole situation with Liv, Mike, and the detective from Jessup. I love the fact is that they're both kind of like, yeah, not about her at all. And, the moment it's like, all right, I guess we're going to be partnering up. And then Liv touches Mike's arm, and Mike's almost like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, she's getting super protective. Because I've talked about it. Like, Liv and Mike have definitely gotten closer over the course of this series. Like, they were kind of at odds, and they had their whole thing, but now their whole back and forth is more of a thing, because it's like, hey, just the definition of their partnership and how much of a good team they are. Well, that's kind of taken away from Liv to some extent this episode, when it turns out like the detective from Jessup and him have a lot in common. Which part of my brain's like, are we going to find out the detective from Jessup is a lot deeper involved in all of this than we kind of think? Well, she does reveal that she is a New York cop, and we know a lot of this has to deal with like people from New York. So her coming here specifically might not just have been an accident. Like, I'm like, there were other cops from Jessup that showed up, wasn't it? And so that's why I was like, but it doesn't change it, because I was about to say, like, not until she came here unofficially, but it could be like she made sure to get the jurisdiction for this case, because maybe she's trying to keep a close eye on this case. Once again, I'm reading too much into it, but hearing that she's also a cop, she was a cop from New York, which obviously, it's about connecting her and Mike with the fact is that, hey, he's a cop from DC. And especially with everything he kind of went through, because that was what really sparked him telling Ben to like talk to Kate, is he knows what it's like to bottle a lot of stuff up, and no matter how you try to run from it, it will eventually eat you up if you don't face it, if you don't deal with it. So, which kind of coincides with everything that Harry is dealing with in this episode, but we'll circle back to that soon enough. But finishing up there, like, the fact is that Mike and the detective, like, they're hitting it off and stuff, and Liv feels so left out, to the point that they both get in an elevator together, and then Liv kind of gets left on the outside, and you're like, oh, that is a giant metaphor for what's happening right now. And for Liv, it's like, once again, they were in a good space, and now, like, that good teamwork is kind of being, like, challenged, and now she's kind of losing her way, like she's feeling left out, and I'm sure we're going to get more and more of that as the episodes go by. But I also love Judy, so obviously really, really into Mike, that she's not even, like, the detective's like, oh, these are the guys who you saw in the van. She's like, actually, I'm and Judy is like, oh, I'm talking to him. It's like, so would you want to know? It's like, yep, I can confirm. It's like, those are the guys. It's like, it's actually really sweet how into Mike she is. I also love that she's got, as Darcy puts it, Judy's got her own, well, Judy, and Judy's like, yeah, she's over there, like, following me all the time. It's like, I get it, you're playing pool, we all get it. And it's just like, yeah, and even being like, God, I can't believe she follows me all the time, not even realizing it. And Darcy's like, yeah, I wouldn't know what that's like. And Judy being like, yeah, but it's nothing like what we have. I'm like, I love it now. Like, that is, like, funny and ironic that, you know, Judy now has her own Judy who follows her around without even realizing, like, oh yeah, I do the same thing to Darcy because I'm very oblivious. I'm like, I love Judy. I love that we are getting more and more pop-ins from Judy. I hope that continues. I love her so much. Then we had the whole situation with Max and Sahar, where Sahar ended up finding the baby alien because now it's taken on the form of somebody, which I'm so fascinated. I mean, I guess it must, well, all you need is DNA of the person. So I guess, like, because that older woman found her brother, it's like, oh my God, it's you. And it's like, she's like, oh, of course I recognize my brother who disappeared like 81 years ago. He must have died in the mines, and the baby snuck in there, must have gotten must have found his body and, like, taken his DNA and now looks like him. So, and actually kind of let that slip my mind the moment Max is around the alien baby. He can see it for what it is. It's like, right, forgot. You're literally the only person that can ever see the baby and Harry, for what they really are. To be fair, I mean, like, when the baby didn't have a disguise on, obviously Sahar could see it as well and kind of pieced it together when she heard the hissing that it was the baby in disguise. And now she's making the choice of, like, right, we'll be able to, Harry's going to raise this baby for evil. We should raise the baby to be good. So they're probably not going to tell Harry just because they know not to tell Harry stuff. That they're probably not going to tell him they found the baby because they don't want to take the chance he'll corrupt the baby. So they'll be secretly dealing with that. Eventually, Harry will find out. I mean, whether it'll be kind of an immediate thing or not, whether it'll just be kind of over a couple episodes, we'll have to wait and see. But that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. And then also, like, it's circling back to it, is the whole Harry situation of him so scared about death, and obviously handling it in a very human way of eating through his feelings, which him kind of confused, but from also, like, how do you guys, like, not worry about death? And obviously for her, it's like her way of kind of dealing with death. It's like there's a lot that kind of got thrown her way. Obviously the whole Jay situation, the fact is that that guy tried to kill you. The fact is, you live every day, but you can't run from death because it's just a natural part of life. Like, everyone will eventually die. It is a thing of, like, yeah, humans, we tend to not think about it on a daily basis. You know, I see up for moments where we get very existential. But it's about, you know, not letting that thought hinder you. Like, live your life. Don't let it stop you from living your life. And so Harry was there with Gerard, and Gerard's like, yeah, I'm glad my wife's not here to see me when I die. And he's like, yeah, hopefully I get to see her again. He's like, and Harry's like, in hell? I was like, Jesus, Harry. He's like, no, hopefully in heaven. He's like, right. I get you humans, I get your, like, your fairy tales mixed up. But it's like, how do you face death? And for him, it's like, the moment he found out he was sick, it allowed him to appreciate every moment of life. That's how you kind of, like, you face death. You appreciate what you have. You kind of see the beauty in things. And so, for Harry, it's his way of facing death is giving Gerard his death like he wants, and even whispering, like, what is it like? So, he's, I think, finally heading in the right direction. And I thought, like I said, I thought it was kind of beautiful how, like, that ties in with just, like, everything else in the episode of everyone kind of dealing with and facing, what's next for them in their respective stories. Like I said, the Kate and Ben situation, or even Darcy. I thought that was all kind of really neatly done. So I'm excited to see what happens next. I wonder how long is it going to continue before Harry ends up telling Asta about, well, the alien killers, but also, well, the aliens that are here to, like, kill everyone. There's still one, obviously, probably doesn't want to, like, overload her with everything. Like, it's like, right, you got a lot on your plate already. We're already dealing with the baby, and, well, he doesn't have the full story of everything from Goliath until they find the baby again. So probably don't want to say anything to Asta until you get the full story too, because you don't want to panic her even more with everything that's going on right now. So we'll see how that ultimately all ends up playing out going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.